Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the Y2K collector, and I am excited, folks. I am excited about some of these pickups that I've been able to make here to get October started. It's a really cool month to be a collector. It's a really cool time to be a collector, right? It's always good to be collecting, I guess, as long as you're picking up the stuff that you want, right? And that's what it's been about for me for the past year and change now. I think I gave up on picking up shovelware just for the fun of it, picking up games that I know I'll never really play for the fun of it. I've been streamlining and focusing my efforts only on the games that I want to play, or the ones that are just so critically acclaimed that I need to experience them, even if it's just once. And I am a true nostalgic individual, so for me it's all about the real experience, playing it on the original hardware, getting the cartridge, messing around with it until the game actually works, the whole nine yards. I want to feel like I'm right back in 1990 whatever, getting ready to jump off on a new 2D adventure. But that's a lot of jabbering and that's a lot of blabbering, and not fully the real reason why I wanted to make a video today. What I want to talk about is the best bang for buck, right? Where can you get the best bang for buck when it comes to selling video games or trading video games? Where can you go to make your dollar stretch the farthest? And I think that's something that a lot of collectors, whether you're an old collector, a new collector, maybe you're interested in getting into the hobby, but that's something that I think most are interested in kind of figuring out. Okay, so there are three, maybe more, but there are three main ways that most game collectors sell or like trade or offload games. The first is going to be just selling them yourself, right? Whether you're selling it on Mercari, selling it on eBay, you have your own online store, maybe you're going to trade shows, maybe you're setting up at game conventions, but you're selling the games yourself, and that's usually going to be where you make the most money. Because that's where you can, kind of charge the most and, charge top dollar or whatever the market rate is for the game. The only challenge is that depending on the game or games you're trying to sell, the velocity of the sale, right? The speed at which things sell might be really slow. And sometimes fast money is better than slow money, even if the fast money is coming in at a lower amount, right? So you have that option there. You can always sell it yourself. The second way that you can probably do it is by going to one of your local game stores and trying to sell it, right? And when I say selling it at a local game store, I'm thinking about a big chain like Best Buy. Maybe not Best Buy, sorry, but like a GameStop, a big video game store that will still buy some of your retro stuff, right? Or maybe like a DK Oldies, which is really big. That's a big video game store. Any major video game chain is definitely one way you can kind of offload games, because you can go there and you can sell your games there and they'll give you, whatever amount it'll be. Then you have your local game store, right? So your mom and pop shops, those are the places that you can go and probably get the best trades, because they probably have a lot of other retro games, and they probably have other things there that they will be willing to trade trade to get some of the older retro games that you might be trying to sell or trade in. So the question is, which one gives me the best bang for buck? Where can I go and maximize my dollar? And I think that going any of these routes is good, but it just depends on what it is you're trying to sell. And that's really quickly here what I want to break down, where you should sell what based on what I've experienced in the last year of selling video games. And I'm going to break it really down. I'm really just going to break it down into three real major components. The first component is going to be like retro games, right? Retro games and desirable games that are out there. The second category of games is going to be like your more modern games, so like PS4, PS5, Switch, things like that. And then there's that category of games that's like semi-retro. So it's not quite retro yet. It's not retro enough for it to produce any kind of nostalgia with any one generation. And I would also include some of the more common titles in this group as well, right? So those are kind of like the three main categories, and how you sell each, I think, varies. So let's go ahead and start with the retro stuff. So if you've got a bunch of retro games, and by retro I mean like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy Color, anything really, I would say maybe Wii generation and older, I feel like the best place that you can go to get the best bang for your buck for that is really by going to a video game store, like a retro game store. Because GameStop is never really going to give you the full value or even a good value for those games. And selling them online, while yes, you can do that, it's also very tough because there's a lot of competition online. And in order for you to really sell any games really fast online, you almost have to discount the items that you're trying to sell to be able to beat the competition and get the items sold. So by the time you discount it, I mean, you're already taking a hit in terms of what you could get for the game. So what I've come to see is that going to your local retro game store is one of the best ways to either A, sell your games, or B, trade your games. Now, most game stores that I go to, the cash value is generally lower than whatever store credit they're willing to offer you. So what I've done is I've selected certain game stores that I know are going to have the types of games that I'm looking for. And when it comes to like selling my retro games or retro games that I'm trying to get the best value for them, when I'm trying to get the best value for those games are the games that I'm typically taking to a local retro game store. And I'm not really trying to, go to GameStop to sell them or anything like that. I want to get top dollar, but I also want to do a quick sale. I don't feel like listing it online. I don't feel like dealing with the shipping and handling. I just want to get it done. So for retro games, in my opinion, if you're wanting to sell those, trade those, find a local retro game store near you. Find a place that's looking to restock, their retro games, and go in there and make some offers. See what you can trade and see what you can get based on the games you got. All right, let's go ahead and move on to like newer games, right? So PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch. When it comes to those games, what I've realized is that those games almost have the reverse effect at local retro game stores. Most local retro game stores, they're not really trying to, from what I've seen, they're not trying to buy a lot of PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch games, because then they're pretty much trying to compete with Best Buy, GameStop, and all the other major retailers that are selling the same types of games at the same time. So that's not really what retro game stores are in the business of doing. And what I've come to realize is that when I have like PS4 games, Switch games, and like PS5 games, which I haven't had many, that's where GameStop comes in, because I think GameStop, for one, they'll actually accept a lot of those games, because in most retro game stores, unless the PS4 or Switch game you're trying to sell is like exclusive, limited edition, or highly sought after, they may not even take it. So if you want the store to even accept your games, your best bet when it comes to more modern games, is to go to a GameStop, wait for them to have a promotion where they're offering an additional 25 or an additional 50%, on all trade-ins, and see what kind of value you can get out of GameStop for some of those more modern games, because I think that's where you'll get your biggest bang for buck. Again, if you have something really rare, like a rare Switch game, whether it be limited run or something by super rare, or maybe it was just one of the first Switch games made that's you can't buy in the stores anymore, those games, yes, retro game stores will buy. But if you're talking about games like No More Heroes 3 or Secret of Mana or something really like recent, Octopath Traveler, all of that stuff is probably going to serve you better at GameStop. All right, let's move on to the third category. So the third category is the not so retro games, the not so old school games, and then more of the common titles. Now, when it comes to like your PS3, your Xbox 360 games, unfortunately, that generation is almost like they're like the stepchild, right? Retro game stores don't want these games. I don't even think GameStop wants these games half the time. And, they kind of follow almost similar to the PS4 and Switch games. It's like, unless it's something really, really rare, you're probably not going to get a lot of money for PS3 games, 360 games, and pretty much any game that's like a common game. And when I say a common game, I mean a common game across any console. If it's a basic $20, $30 game on whether it be the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, doesn't matter, those games will be tough to sell unless they're like really retro, right? Like if they're really retro, you can still take them to the retro game store, to your local retro game store, and you'll get something for them, but you probably won't get a lot for them, because what I've come to notice is that in most retro game stores, the amount that they'll give you, whether it be cash value or trade-in value, depends on the rarity or the quality of the game. So if you're going to a retro game store and you're trading in a Sega Genesis game and that game is Castlevania Bloodlines, they'll be more likely to give you maybe 75-80% of the value for that game. If you're going in and you're trading in Sonic 2, they may offer you 40% of the value for Sonic 2. So it's just one of those things where, and I know I'm giving a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different ways that you can sell your games, and a lot of different venues you can sell your games, but it's really just about knowing your collection, knowing the games you have and what you want to sell, knowing what their value is, so that when you do decide to go and sell them, no matter where you sell them, you kind of have an idea of what you should be getting for that game, whether it be trade-in value, store credit, cash value, whatever the case may be. You definitely just want to have an idea of what your game should be totaling in value. This way, when you're ready to sell, you can know how much of a haircut you're taking on the value of the games when you sell them. So those are just some tips that I had based on the games that I've sold and traded the past couple weeks. And I gotta tell you, it's been working for me, because I've had some incredible trades, and I'm gonna share those with you now and kind of talk through some of the amazing trades that I've been able to do. And without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and just kick it right off and start off with this first game, which is none other than Suikoden 2. So I actually went to my local game store and I traded in a number of rare DS games, and I wish I would have got some footage of that. I wound up trading in a complete in-box copy of Izuna, a sealed copy of Izuna 2, two very rare RPG games on the DS, sold those along with some other games, and was able to get a copy of Suikoden 2. Now, I'm not a huge RPG guy. I don't play a ton of turn-based RPGs. If the story is interesting, I will play it. I have beaten Grandia 2. I've gotten into a few other RPGs. I mean, Pokemon's an RPG, right? So I played Pokemon growing up. But I heard a lot of good things about Suikoden 2, and so when I saw it there, I said, I'm gonna grab this, add it to the collection, and if I was gonna play an RPG, might as well play one that's been critically acclaimed over the past few years. So Don't know much about the story of Suikoden, but was glad when I saw it and to have the opportunity to play it on my PlayStation. And so I'm excited to get into that. Was really stoked to get that. All right, I'll move on to the next game that I picked up. Now, many of you know that over the summer, I was able to get my hands on a complete Neo Geo AES system. I was totally stoked, and the first game that I got with it was a copy of Magician Lord. Well, I have been able to pick up yet another very expensive Neo Geo game thanks to those trade-ins, and I was able to pick up a copy of, this says here, I think it's Alpha Mission 2, but it has a longer name on it, but it's pretty much Alpha Mission 2 on the Neo Geo. This is a shoot 'em up, of course. You all know that I love my shoot 'em ups, and that's the primary reason that I got a Neo Geo AES, so I can get some of those legendary shoot 'em ups like Blazing Star and Pulse Star and all the good ones, Sonic Wings 3. So I'm really excited to hopefully run into those. I know the Neo Geo is quickly growing extinct, and the chances of getting your hands on a Neo Geo cart is harder than ever these days, but I will persevere and hopefully get my hands on a copy of those games. But for now, Alpha Mission 2 is going to have to satisfy that Neo Geo shoot 'em up itch, and I was really glad when I saw that at the game store and was able to add it to my collection. All right, now I got a couple other trades here that I'll go over, and we're going to switch gears and get into some Super Nintendo stuff. So I was really excited when I saw this game at the game store because I had been trying to find this game at a cheap price if I were to actually buy it, but being able to trade for it was a whole lot better. And so grabbing a copy of King of Dragons for the Super Nintendo was really cool. If there's anything I like more than a beat 'em up, it's a beat 'em up with some RPG elements where you can like level up and use different weapons and increase your magic and stuff like that. And King of Dragons definitely is just a fun beat 'em up. I have played it before. I did have it on my copy of Belt Action, or Capcom's beat 'em up action. It's like a collection of some of the best beat 'em ups made by Capcom, and you can play that on the Switch. So I did have it that way, but to get an original copy on the Super Nintendo was really cool, and I was glad to add it to my Loose Cart SNES collection. I'm not trying to go crazy collecting Super Nintendo games, so I don't need to get like a complete in-box collection. Definitely not going for anything like that. But I am trying to get my hands on all of the SNES games that I'm really interested in, and King of Dragons was one of them. And if I can get it loose, I'll get it loose. If I can get it complete in box, I'll do that as well. But I was glad to get this copy of King of Dragons. All right, and then last but not least, I am so stoked to get this game. I mean, this game gives me the same feeling that I got when I picked up my copy of Burning Rangers. It gave me the same feeling when I picked up my copy of Hyperduel for the Sega Saturn, and this game just falls right in line with those games because the quality is amazing. And that game is none other than Metal Warriors. And I mean, I'd seen some footage of this game, and there's really not a lot on the internet about Metal Warriors, honestly, because it is just one of those really rare Super Nintendo games. I had never really seen a copy in person before actually getting the game myself, but I was really stoked. Now, I only got the loose cart of Metal Warriors, which I mean, I was happy about, because complete in box, this thing is like retarded expensive. It's like at the Hagane level, but I can see why, because when you put the game in and you start playing it, you see how detailed it is. I mean, Metal Warriors has so much detail in the gameplay. You can, shoot things in the environment. You can actually get out of your mech suit and, roam the areas and, get in another mech suit and take that suit over. And I mean, all of the buttons, you can use all of the buttons to do different actions. You've got like a melee attack, which is kind of like a sword. You've got different, blocking, mechanisms in your armor. You're able to upgrade your gun. You have like a heavy machine gun, and then that can be, upgraded to a rocket launcher. I mean, it is Hagane level, right? And there were few Super Nintendo games that were extremely detailed and just colorful and beautiful, with the way they were designed and with the way the gameplay was designed. And I understand why some of these games are so expensive, because when you actually start to play them, you realize all of the dedication and hard work that it took to make this game as special as it is. Just again, with the color, the gameplay, the action, the platforming, just how responsive the controls are. It truly is a gem of a game, and I'm glad that I have it in the collection and I've been able to play it and check it out. If you have never played Metal Warriors, I highly recommend it. It is an expensive game, so definitely don't recommend you going out and buying it. But if you can download the ROM, or I think they even sell like reproduction copies for like $25. I have a reproduction copy of Hagane, so I'm not hating on that. If the cost of the game is too expensive, I definitely recommend checking out at least the ROM. But Metal Warriors is hands down a sick game. It is probably neck and neck with Hagane in terms of look of the game, sounds of the game, gameplay. It is all the way up there, and I highly recommend it. All right, well, that does it. That does it for me here on this happy Saturday. I can't wait to go in and try to beat this game, Metal Warriors. I'm going to be playing this all weekend, and hopefully I can beat the game and have some fun. But that does it for me. I am the Y2K Collector. Thanks for stopping by and checking out some of these games with me. I'll be back because we definitely have some more trades coming. But for now, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy.